I want to get to some of your guys' emails. I don't have a lot of time left because Chris Martinson is waiting, and we want to get him on the show here to talk about the great taking. But I do want to read one of these emails, and then I'll save the others for another time. This comes from Julius. Julius says, says, hello, Kim, longtime fan. I too have been disappointed with our RFK Jr.'s response to Palestine. Although I disagree with his opinion, I do understand the complexities of his ultimate point, which is how you deal with Hamas. Okay, that's a question. How do you deal with Hamas? And I think that's a legitimate question. We could go into the history of Israel funding Hamas, wanting Hamas to be there to create the division. But now what do you do about Hamas? Good question. Um, Many of us believe the answer is not genocide. One incredibly refreshing gesture that gives us insight into RFK Jr.'s leadership is his most recent podcast on Palestine versus Israel called Path to Peace, with two scholars, one from Palestine and one from Israel. I think his transparent and authentic facilitation is why I still support RFK Jr. Let me show you what this is the episode that he's talking about in this email. It's called Path to Peace. This was put out in March. And Kennedy does sit down with a Muslim Palestinian and a Jewish Israeli, and they discuss peace, the path to peace. And I listened to part of it. It is very good. I do think it was well done. They do come to agreements with one another. There is a genuine discussion about how these two groups of people can live together. And the Palestinian did, of course, discuss his grievances and the issues. And RFK Jr. did sit there and listen and facilitate this conversation. Julius goes on to say, we know by now that we don't even agree with major issues inside of our own families, let alone a stranger running for president. But the question is, can you talk to them? Have they put real thought into the issue? And have they ever come around after serious debate? I argue that RFK Jr. will listen and has come around on issues. There will never be the perfect candidate because once you start drilling down, everyone becomes human. Much respect, and I feel your pain because I know you care deeply. Take a listen and keep inspiring, Julius. Thank you so much, Julius, for your email. And thank you for sharing with us this podcast that RFK Jr. put out. Um, I also went through RFK Jr.'s Twitter account, and I searched for any recent comments he's made about Palestinians, about Gaza, about Israel, about Hamas, and there was nothing. He had pretty much stopped talking about it, probably for the better. But he did all of those PR things with Shmuley. Then, of course, October 7th happens. He made a few statements on some shows. The biggest mistake that he made was saying that the Palestinians were the most pampered people. That was an absolute horrific mistake for him to make. But he since has pretty much stopped talking about it and has focused on other aspects of his campaign. But he did then put out this podcast in March, and it really was sitting down with two leaders trying to come to some agreement on how they could work this out. That does, for me, it does say something. It is better than, what I like is that he actually sat down with both sides and had them talk to each other and talk to him, and he heard them out. That is better than what a lot of these other supposed leaders or the president of the United States, they just listen to the Israelis. That's it. They only listen to the Jewish lobby and Israelis. They don't really listen to any Palestinian voices. When Trump did the Abraham Accords, there was no Palestinian that was involved in those supposed negotiations. The question is, do we think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would be different? So we know that he is pro-Israel. We know they all are. But would he approach it differently? Would he just continue sending loads of weapons over to Israel to do whatever they want when he sees the obvious, when he gets to the point that Joe Biden's at right now, would he stop the shipment and say, listen, you guys really don't care about civilian lives, it turns out. You've just been gaslighting me, telling me you do, and then you take me around with your IDF soldiers and say, look at all the things we do to help civilians, and then really you guys are doing something completely different. Would he get to that point? I want to have more faith that I want to say he would. I want to say that I think he would actually be more measured than these other guys that just write blank checks. I would like to think that he would be more thoughtful about it and actually hear people out and actually, I that's, if he was actually sitting there signing off on the weapons, I would like to think that from what we've seen and heard from him, that he would be at least a little bit more measured. That's what I would like to think. And this podcast that he put out, when you listen to it, which we have the link down below for you if you want to hear it, it might make you think the same. That, well, if we have to choose between one pro-Israel or another pro-Israel or another pro-Israel candidate, you at least want to get the one that's going to actually listen to people. And maybe that person is RFK Jr. I don't know. You guys tell me. Email me. I love hearing from you. Kim@KimIverson.com. I'm going to be reading more of your emails on the show as time goes on. But definitely just email me your thoughts, and I'd love to hear from you. Hey, guys, thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson show, which you could catch just by heading to that link down below, KimIversonShow.com. You can watch the full show from what you just watched, or you could catch the full show live Monday through Friday, live streams, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. See you then. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Never miss an episode. Never miss a clip. Never miss a segment. Thanks, guys.